Do you have any $20 bills? Well, if you do, make sure you check them out because the $20 bills that we go over in this video are selling online for a ton of money. You don't want to accidentally spend one of your $20 bills later to find out they're selling for significantly more money than you might imagine. Without any further ado, guys, let's hop into this video with a $20 bill from 1996 that sold for $1,200. This rare bill is very, very collectible. Now, looking at the front of the bill, you may say, hey, I don't see a lot going on with it. And you would be right. It's only when you flip it over to the back, you can see that the back of the bill is actually inverted and misaligned. Big oopsie by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, who produced these paper money bills. That's a big error there. And it will dramatically increase the value of a note like this, $1,200 for it. All right, so this is cool. It's a bill that sold for $1,500. It's from 1969, and this is what we call a specimen note. So specimen notes were created by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing to give out to different countries around the world that have banks that accept US federal currency. The reason for this is because bank tellers wouldn't know what a genuine United States bill would look like. So what they would do whenever they got one in is they would compare it to the specimen note. Now, specimen notes are never really meant to go out into circulation at all. What happened is more than likely these specimen bills were eventually sold off to collectors, later to be sold in auctions like this. Specimens are relatively controversial when it comes to collectors because the US has strict guidelines on paper monies like this being out in existence. If it was up to them, they would have them all destroyed. But there is obviously some real collector value in them. This $20 bill, even though it is toned, it's a bit orange overall, and it has staple holes on the back top right, you can see there, this bill still sold for $1,500. All right, this is what I'm talking about right here, guys. 2004 $20 bill. We're all used to seeing this President Jackson on the front of the bill here. Very beautiful note overall. $1,680 for this 2004 $20 bill. Why did it sell for so much money? Pay attention. Here we go. First of all, do not fold your bill. If there is a fold anywhere on the bill, in the corners, down the center, anywhere that hits the design, you are going to drastically decrease the value of your bill. Let's say you have a banknote with no folds on it whatsoever. That's when things get a little tricky. Look at the margins around this bill. You can see the top and bottom are perfectly centered for the most part. Left and right are also very nicely centered. The better centered your banknote is, the higher grade you're going to get. As long as there's no folds, that's very important to know. The moment you have a fold on your bill, the highest grade you can get is a 58, which means almost uncirculated. This banknote right here is perfectly centered. There are no folds on it whatsoever. It's nearly perfect of a banknote. That's why it sold for $1,680 because it got the perfect grade of 70. $2,040 for this 2017 $20 bill. Very cool note here. I do like to see it. Now I want to zoom in on the bill and I want you to leave a comment down below telling me why this $20 bill sold for $2,040. If you see it, leave a comment down below telling me exactly what it is that you see. And if you don't see it, I want you to leave a comment down below telling me that you learned something new. All right, so here we go. This is what we call a mismatched suffix error. So the prefix is before the serial number starts and the suffix is after. So the serial number at the top left has a D at the end of the serial number. The suffix at the bottom right has an F. This is a big oopsie by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. This should have never happened, but it is very collectible when it comes to the world of paper money. That's why it sold for $2,040. Ouch. This 1990 $20 bill sold for $2,280. Very apparently, you can see it's a cutting error. So simply, when the bill was done being produced, they cut it wrong. It got out of quality control somehow, and it sold online for $2,280. $3,120 for this 1999 $20 bill that has a misalignment error. So when it comes to printing paper money, the back of the bill is first, the front of the bill is second, and the last and final print is what you see here that is misaligned. This should have never happened, obviously. The more dramatic an error is, the more money it's going to bring. This is impossible to replicate outside of the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. That's why we know it's real. Also, it got graded at a 45. That means this bill has about 3 folds on it, so it was likely out in circulation before someone noticed that, hey, this is wrong, this is an error, and it's going to be worth more money than just $20. It sold for $3,120. Starting on the back of this bill that sold for $5,520, you can see at the bottom right there, you have a backplate number. Now the backplate number is something that can really impact the value of your banknote depending on the size of it, okay? So that number is essentially an internal number for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing employees to say, hey, I know exactly where this bill is located on this printing plate. Now, if the backplate number is a different size than the front plate number, you could have what's called a mule note. Let's go to the front. Look to the bottom right there of Jackson. You'll see an F with a number and FW before the letter F. Now, the letter number combination does not matter. It's all internal. We have no idea exactly what it means, except they know. Before the plate position on the front, you'll see the FW, which means Fort Worth, Texas. There's only two places in the whole US that makes paper money. You've got Fort Worth, Texas and Washington, DC. This one, because it says FW, is made at Fort Worth, Texas. If your banknote has no FW, that means it was made at the DC facility. This is not a mule note because the size of the front plate number versus the back plate number are the same. But you will notice there's a pre-printed stock error on this bill. Going through Jackson's head there's like a barcode. Very cool, very unique. I had never seen one of these until recently, which is more than likely why it sold for a staggering $5,520. $5,760 for this 2009 $20 bill with a serial number 1. So you can see the condition here is not good. There's a high probability that someone just had this in their wallet or purse as what we call a pocket piece. This is a rare serial number 1 star note. Now, something like this is going to get snatched out of circulation quite quickly simply because it looks so rare. Someone's going to be like, wow, that's a serial number 1. I know how rare that is. I'm going to add it to my collection and maybe sell it one day. I have a very, very hard time believing that this passed this many people's hands before someone noticed the rare serial number. A more likely probability what happened here is that someone had it as a pocket piece. Maybe one day they accidentally spent it, or who knows the exact story. If only these banknotes could talk, right? It would be very, very cool. This serial number 1 $20 bill sold for $5,760. Now, if you haven't done it already, pick up our completely free coin and currency ebook down below. We hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you in the next one.